Beautiful, lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. In the height of my exam period, right before my last exam was about to happen, Chipsa got signed to Philadelphia Fusion, something that a lot of us did not see coming. Was a big surprise for the Overwatch community and did make a lot of drama. Now, I will be covering both sides of this. So first, I will be covering the people that is against the signing. Then I will be covering the people that is for the signing. And then in the end, I will give my opinion. So please don't dislike my video for the opinions of others. I will just cover and play devil advocate and cover both sides of the story so we know what the arguments of both sides are, and then in the end I will give my opinion. Okay, besides that, before we start, of course, a like and a comment on the video helps against YouTube's abusive algorithm. Subscribe and bell notification if you like overwatch and FPS content. And this is kind of important, please do not send any hate in the way of Chipsa. Okay, whatever you love or hate the decision that was made, it's not his fault that he got an amazing opportunity and took it like everyone else would have. So sending hate towards him because he signed a contract that he got offered is not his fault, and is like it's ridiculous. In general, don't send hate to anybody, like death threats and being nasty on the internet to people because you disagree with them. It's fine that we disagree, but let's at least try to keep it somewhat civil, guys. Now, let's start. So the arguments that be given against Chipsa, which a lot have come from Jayne and supporters around him, but also other streamers, YouTubers, and content creators talked about, is that and especially when I've talked to people that either play in contenders or try to get into contenders or isn't that like competitive sphere, the people that are against it normally seem to resonate around the fact that he got the spot that he didn't deserve. The signing was unfair. They cite nepotism, which essentially means that the reason he got the spot was because his brother is an assistant coach for the Philadelphia Fusion, and at that point, they think that, okay, so he got the spot because of his brother, not because he earned the spot, not because he deserves the spot, and that takes the spot away from people that would have known it, right? And essentially, therefore, it's kind of like him stealing a spot he does not deserve from contenders players that has been grinding, and is, investing their entire lives into this scene, has been grinding for a chance in Overwatch League, and lost it to somebody because his brother was on the team. That's the argument that's a lot of time brought up. And to kind of strengthen that argument, it's normally brought up that, how can you argue for Chipsa, right? Who has no real team experience, especially over, contenders player that has years of experience, has played in tournaments, have gotten results. How can you argue for Chipsa with no team experience compared to these other guys, right? That's the argument that is normally brought against why their signing is bad, it is hurting the league, and so on. Now, the people that are for the signing normally bring up a couple of things. First of all, they signed one of the best Doomfist players in the world, okay? And someone that has performed on the highest level on the ladder consistently. And that is actually not that unusual. Signing high elo players in esports is something that happened in League of Legends and in Counter-Strike for a long period of time. I do believe, and don't quote me on this, Faker, for example, he was a solo queue player before he got signed to SKT. The same went for, I do believe it was Reckless. Reckless was also, and he plays for, I do believe he plays for Fnatic now in League. He was also a solo queue player before he got signed. A lot of looking at the ladder does not give you team experience. Being on the top of the ladder all the time shows that you have mechanically understood the game and you have mechanically good control over whatever hero you're playing with, and it also shows that you understand how to have an impact on each matches, because that's what solo queue does. Solo queue is just you having impact on the matches, being able to be that consistent factor in all your games. And when you have almost 60% on Doomfist and you perform really high, then that is a good argument for this guy should be signed, because we know he is good, we know he will give impact on the match. So that is one of the arguments that's giving for. The other one, and that's one that Tucker, which is the owner of Philadelphia Fusion, he brought up, is that if Doomfist becomes meta, they have one of the best players in the league on him. As specialists or something. If you want, so essentially, if Doomfist is meta, they have one of the best people ready to sub in for the team, and that they can learn how to play on the team, and he's just mechanically a god already on that hero. And if not, it does not hurt his pro career. He can just sit back, being benched, and start streaming, and therefore it is not hurting his pro career. Because he's not necessarily in need of getting time on the stage, and by performing or playing like he does, he can just stream. So if he doesn't get a spot where Doomfist is not meta, because a lot of people are nervous about a one trick on the league, then you just put him on streaming duty, and then he can stream. And that is kind of like the big thing. On top of that, it seemed like he was not as expensive as other players, so financially it also made sense. So that is the argument that is kind of brought up. So nepotism and the fact that he's stealing his spots, and how you can't really argue for Chipsa. That's kind of the argument that being against the signing, and for the signing is real that he's performing high in solo queue. He's mechanically good. Christopher also knows the guy, so when the assistant coach knows the player, he can at least know his mentality and probably knows how good how willing he is to improve and so on. And even if they don't get to use him, he wasn't as expensive as other players. And if he doesn't get used, they can use him as a streamer and they will get something out of that. And that doesn't hurt his pro career. And if not, then they have a specialist on Doomfist, if Doomfist is meta, that they can use to just dominate the ladder or dominate the competition with, by having somebody that hopefully would be able to up one every other Doomfist player in the lobby. Now, here's my opinion, okay? Is nepotism, is that something that happens? Knowing other people, so that and having connection that help you get on the team. 100%, yes. And in a perfect world, that would not happen, but it does that in Overwatch and CSGO and League and in football and basketball and normal jobs, such that also working IT, connections are important. And getting, being able to just be given a tryout spot is important and just helps you so much. Now, is this something that should be going? No, it would be nice if it wasn't, but that's not the reality that we live in. Second of all, do I believe that nepotism ruins it? Do I think that Christopher managed to convince the Philadelphia Fusion to sign his brother so the brother could get a paycheck instead of signing somebody to essentially ruining his own reputation as a coach, and losing the playoffs because they have Chipsa on the roster, right? Do I think that that's the case? No. I think that when this decision was made, I do believe that they kind of understood that, okay, Chipsa is getting signed for these reasons. The fact that he is a mechanically good player, we can take that raw potential and form it into something scary. And if not, then we have a streamer on the team. He's not as expensive. Let's sign this guy. I believe that this was a calculated move. I cannot believe that the arguments that he got signed by his brother so that Chipsa got a paycheck and therefore it would ruin his brother's own credibility and most likely get him fired. And why the fuck would the Philadelphia Fusion staff and the coaching staff and the managers agree to a signing like that if everybody believed that it was absolutely ridiculous? I don't think that's what has happened. And I think that the arguments that's happened is not something that's okay. So do I think that Chipsa is a bad signing? No. He's one of the best mechanically Doomfist players in the world. Christopher knows him and therefore also knows how coachable he is. Taking the role challenge to Chipsa and coaching him to play on a team is really, really scary, and it becomes scary really, really fast if he manages to have a team that he can play around and he understands how to do that. And if Doomfist is not meta, they just signed a high-tier streamer to the org. It makes a lot of sense. And well, yes, should they look at contenders players? Yes, of course they should. And is it okay to say that he took an opportunity? Did he take an opportunity from another player? I don't think that the Philadelphia Fusion is should be forced to sign contenders players. It's their org, it's their roster, and they make the decision of the coaching staff. And if they were looking for this Doomfist specialist that could also go into a streamer, then I understand why they have signed them. And again, while it to a certain extent still sucks, and this is of course something that more reflects on the tier 3 scene than anything else, the fact that people are putting so much time and so much effort into tier 3 scene, not getting anything out of it. But in the end, it's not the job of tier 1 teams to mitigate that. That's the job of Blizzard and Overwatch. And that is what I personally believe. That while yes, it sucks that not every, amazing, that there's so many amazing contenders players and those guys are not getting signed to Overwatch League, that sucks. But it's not the job of the tier 1 teams to mitigate that. That is not their job. The job is to get results, and if this is what the Fusion think is the best result, getting a Doomfist player that's mechanically good that they can coach onto making him into a raw, talented, just impactful player on their team, and if not, have a streamer that didn't cost as much, it makes sense from an economical and from a team standpoint and from an organizational standpoint. So I completely understand why it is happening, and while I don't think that if I was on the Philadelphia Fusion that I would have thought, let's sign Chipsa, I would probably look at contenders players more myself. I understand why they have done it, and it makes sense from their decision. And to sign nepotism and say the only reason that Chipsa got a spot because of his brother, I think is ridiculous, because I don't think that's how it goes. I cannot believe that a tier 1 coach decided to throw his reputation and his career out the window so his brother could get a paycheck for 1 season of Overwatch League and then get kicked off the roster immediately. I don't believe that's something that would happen or could happen. And again, does contacts help you? Yes. Does having a stream help you? Yes. Being known, having presence help you. We have seen this again and again, not just in Overwatch, but in League of Legends and in CSGO. We've seen this a bunch of times. If people know who you are and you're performing good, even on ladder or whatever, that helps you so much to get into tryouts. And knowing people that are already in Overwatch League or in contenders helps you so much get onto tryouts for those teams to get a spot. That is my personal opinion on this signing. I would like to hear your down in the comments below. Of course, like on the video, comment, all the good stuff helps out against the abusive YouTube algorithms. I love you guys very much. Please have a lovely, lovely gaming experience. Happy holidays, and as always, guys, my name is Jonal. You guys keep the enemy in your crosshairs.